we were trying to get the license back together again so we can face each other. So therefore, whatever agreement that he would call and say, let's do, I agree upon it.
I looked up the street, and here came Muhammad Ali. I want Frazier.
Got to the point that people were on the radio. They were saying, there's a report, there's a crowd swelling at 22nd Columbia Avenue. Ali's down there. He's going to challenge Joe Frazier. They're going to fight.
I'd say easily over 1,000 people and still growing. I want Frazier. I want Frazier. Joe saw Muhammad. Joe, I want you. Joe replies, I want you too. But it was getting heated.
Ali challenges Joe. He says, I want you, we don't need to wait to meet you in Fairmount Park. Joe says he'll be there. Businesses shutting down in Center City, Philadelphia, so they couldn't miss this.
Thinking it was just a publicity stunt he could ignore, Joe didn't show in Fairmount Park, but Ali did. Loudly.
Ali is now, he's afraid I was going to whip it. You know, he's taking him through all that. This is unbelievable as to just how much the public wants this to happen, that they will bite for any little thing. They really thought they were going to fight in Fairmount Park? Okay.
Ali had made Joe look bad in his own town, but Joe was more concerned with his fight in February of 1970 with Jimmy Ellis, the WBA champ from the tournament Joe had previously boycotted.
Ellis goes down from a murderous left hook to the jaw. And there's the bell. And elated, Frazier hugs manager Yank Durham as they share this precious moment.
But as Joe celebrated being the undisputed world heavyweight champion, respect for the title was hard to come by, even right outside Madison Square Garden.
Muhammad Ali has not lost his title in the ring, hence this farce which they're having inside can hardly be billed as a world heavyweight championship fight.
We are very proud in Atlanta. We're very happy that we have given the champion the opportunity to come back into the ring.
Georgia State Senator Leroy Johnson and Atlanta Mayor Sam Massale pulled the political strings to provide Muhammad Ali with a boxer's license and a comeback on October 26, 1970. His opponent, Jerry Quarry.
You're a champion of justice and peace and human dignity.
But not everyone in Georgia agreed.
I'd rather see him fighting in Korea or Vietnam.
They're going to let him be free, then it's his right to fight and make a living here. Otherwise, he shouldn't be free, and I don't think he should be free.
I think it is a sad and tragic day that any man that refused to fight for his country would get in the ring and fight for dollars.
Lester Maddox was totally against the fight, and he instigated a lot of people. People were showing up with axe handles, banging on doors and banging on cars. But the fight came off.
After a 3.5-year layoff, Ali stopped Quarry in the third round.
Muhammad Ali in a sensational comeback victory.
Quarry would be much harder to fight than Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier would be easy to hit.
Relicensed in New York after a federal court order, Muhammad Ali then endured a 15-round battle with Argentina's Oscar Bonavena.
I've always wondered whether it convinced Ali that he could do anything. Joe Frazier was a truth machine, and if you weren't in supreme condition, he would find it out.
With an Ali-Frazier showdown now possible, Madison Square Garden and the Houston Astrodome each offered a record payday, $1.25 million to each man. But Ali's manager, Herbert Muhammad, and Yank Durham wanted more and got it from a stranger.
I'd never promoted a fight before. I sounded like a hell of an idea, and I thought it would be a huge event that would transcend boxing because it had to do with the Vietnam War and religion and being black in America and all of that.
As a high-powered Hollywood agent who represented Marlon Brando and Elizabeth Taylor, Jerry Perenchio understood the marquee value and the price, $2.5 million for each fighter.
I had just one problem. I didn't have the $5 million. And the 77th man that I talked to was Jack Kent Cooke.
Must be the loudest phone on earth. Hello.
Who owned the Forum out here, and he had the Lakers and the Kings.
Oh, golly, I'd be deeply interested in going.
Jack Kent Cooke agreed to put up $4.5 million, with the Garden putting up the other $500,000. Ringside seats would be a record $150. Ali's ballyhoo was free.
Wait till I get you in the ring. Wait, 3, 2, 1. Get your hands up.
I was sitting right next to Joe Frazier. He was putting Joe down something awful, telling him how ugly he was, and Frazier was hard as a rock, and I could feel his muscles rippling as he was sitting there, getting angrier and angrier. Finally, Frazier got up and he looked at Ali glaringly, and he said, I will be there. And he was.
You're not fighting Glory, you're not fighting Oscar Bonavera, you're not fighting Sonny Liston, you fighting Joe Frazier. Everybody knows that's not the point. That's the point.
The Supreme Court did agree today to hear the case of Muhammad Ali. He was convicted.
But the Garden would need a quick date for the fight. The sooner, the better. If Ali's appeal of his draft case as a conscientious objector to the Vietnam War was denied, he would go to prison, and the fight would go with him.
The Muslims and Ali were convinced that he was going to go to jail in April. Absolutely convinced. They thought, let's get one more payday.
The only March date that was open was March 8th of 1971, which turned out that it was not open.
My manager called me up and said, you know, there's an interesting wrinkle here. It seems as though they're promoting this fight on the same night that we've rented the joint.
I absolutely thought I'd have a heart attack. But the James Taylor people were terrific. We called them, we met with them.
My impression of it was that they sent down a legal team that was like half legal and half rugby. You know, I mean, it was, these people would not be denied. Like Ali himself, they would not be denied.
We got our way out of it by giving them 15 pair of ringside tickets and a new date.
They weren't great seats. They were on the balcony somewhere, but it was an amazing event, and it was incredible to be there.
In his training camp in Miami Beach, Ali was beating the publicity drums loud and clear. And sometimes it got insulting.
You're going to see two heavyweight champions fighting. One is the phony and one is the real one, and it's going to be easy to distinguish who is the phony.
Well, number one, he's too ugly to be the world heavyweight champion.
Everybody wants to know what's going to happen to Joe Frazier. And
he came back just as Muhammad Ali left. Brash, taunting, working the crowd and working the media, only as Muhammad Ali could.
His nose is flat, he's ugly, he can't talk.
Look how scared I am.
Y'all be sticking on you.
He knew Joe wasn't scared of him.
Making you famous.
So he had to find some buttons to push on Joe to get him out of his game.
There was a lot of resentment on Ali's part as to what he had been through. And to Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier had become the symbol of his oppressors.
A lot of them want me whipped because of the draft. A lot of them want me whipped because I'm black.
In many ways, Joe lived the African-American experience to a much truer extent than Ali did. Joe was the son of a sharecropper. Joe was raised poor.
He was not an orator. He was from the country, and you have a sudden draw, and he was kind of the type of guy that you live and let live.
He got into a gym, he trained, you pointed him in the direction, and he went. That was it. He knew nothing about politics, nothing about gamesmanship.
We're gonna quieten up Joe Frazier and everybody with Joe Frazier.
Ali defined him in public as some kind of a white man's Negro, ass-kissing, Uncle Tomming, never stood up for anything except a person in the ring. Plus, you're not a good-looking guy, and you're dumb.
How do you feel, champ? As Joe saw it, look, I'm just a fighter. Let's get in the ring and let's fight. He didn't understand all of these assets of showmanship that Ali brought to the fair and that Ali rained down upon Joe.
I ain't bothering him. Don't he bother me?
My mind just go. Why this guy doing this? I mean, why you have to say these things about me? Hey, I'm a Tom, I'm a white man champ. That wasn't what it's all about. It's about being a champ for the world, represent everybody.
It got very ugly. I asked one of his wives, what did Ali really think of Frazier? She said he thought that he didn't understand what was happening around him, and he thought truly that he was a pure nigger.
I like Joe and his innocence was representing white America in his innocence. And that will incense a revolutionary who's trying to make change, and no doggone well there's no equality. But I think there's a cruelty in calling people certain kind of names.
Better violent to die than to Uncle Tom and try, making peace to live a lie.
Yank Durham and myself is responsible for Clay to get a license. And after he got a little foothold, you know what I mean, he tried to do everything and say everything to put me down.
The thing that really, I believe, hurt my dad was that he gave his heart, his soul to help another brother, and then that brother comes back and then like a knife cuts him. Definitely I was a Tom for him, so he get a license to fight again. I would get in all kind of trouble in school, and the majority of the kids like, Ollie's gonna whip your dad. You know, your dad can't fight, you know what I mean? Why you say that? Why you say my dad? Well, because he's Tom. I'm like, what? Yeah, my dad ain't no Tom, you know? And in the black community, those are harsh words.
This is their dad, you know what I mean? And why are people being rude to them and cruel? So it built up an anger that he felt the only way to strike back was to get Ali in that ring and beat his ass.
Ali's taunts could be cruel, racially cruel.
That's what you are, Uncle Tom.
Earlier in his career, he had tormented both Ernie Terrell and Floyd Patterson.
Call me Muhammad Ali, not Cassius Clay. This is what Muhammad Ali is saying to him the whole time.
He actually punished those men in the ring because they refused to call him Muhammad Ali. So here was Joe Frazier, his next victim, so to speak.
And the next one to ignore Ali's chosen name.
What do you call Muhammad? Did you?
No, I call him Clay.
You call him Clay?
Yeah.
He called me Tom, called me the white man's champ, so therefore I said, hey, Cassius.
I'm gonna beat your butt until you call me Muhammad Ali. I got one of these.
I know that would make him mad.
Only those who were bigots, rednecks, hardliners continued to call him Clay, almost as an insult. And when Frazier chose to do that too, to a lot of African Americans, it was kind of like, hey, who are you siding with here? Take a look in the mirror.
Adding meanness to an already mean situation took the fight beyond the ring to just about everybody in America. That's how Ali was selling the fight.
Muhammad Ali was a big huckster too.
Joe Frazier's so scared he won't even weigh in with me. He won't even have a physical with me. He won't let nobody watch him train. He's scared to death.
See, if you talk enough stuff long enough, right, you're gonna get two things that are gonna happen. Some people are gonna like you and some people are gonna hate you. And if you work in the arena of boxing, right, where somebody actually can be paid to put his foot deep in your ass, then people will pay for that.
The whole world tunes in when the name Muhammad Ali's on the building.
Frazier never understood why Ali thought he had to make fun of Joe to sell tickets. They were guaranteed the money, $2.5 million each. They did not have to sell tickets.
Ali was selling himself. He was also selling Joe Frazier short, and the media ate it up.
In 1971, I wrote a cover story called Joe Frazier, a white champion in a black skin. It was wrong. It was absolutely wrong. But it was the way it was.
As battles of the century go, this one is different. First, because both Ali and Frazier are champions and undefeated. Second, because no fight has ever had as heavy a show business side as this one, or depended as heavily on the art of electronics.
For the closed-circuit telecast, Jerry Perenchio put together his announcing team. Old pro Don Dunphy is the blow-by-blow announcer, and former champion Archie Moore is the analyst. The third voice was a surprise.
Burt Lancaster, how you doing, Burt?
I'm doing this just because the promoter's a friend of mine and asked me if I would like to do it, and I thought it would be something interesting to do.
This didn't make it a network broadcast. This made it something special. And here's Burt, you know, major Hollywood actor, major Hollywood star, box office draw.
Ali, how are you, dear boy? I'm doing just fine, and I hope you're doing well.